How does our sleep cycle slowly exhaust us? All right, that is the question for today. Hope everyone's having a good one. Welcome to my channel. My name is Thomas, and I do educational videos on many different topics. We'll get into many of those topics quite soon, but for now, we're trying to get to the end of the 144 videos, 144 plus videos I'm doing on the various aspects of the tree of life. And we study the tree of life not only for its own sake, which is fantastic in terms of being able to understand how things fit together and to be able to prioritize things in your life, but also because it is a great tool to be able to integrate and sort out and remember all kinds of other material. So the tree of life is really an elaborate mnemonic device that helps you to be able to, take in large amounts of material from other sources and process it. So that's why we're starting so much with the tree. Once we get the tree, then the other stuff will be a lot easier. Okay, so here is the tree. This is a diagram. It's been around for thousands of years, goes back to at least ancient Egypt, and it is more or less a map of our consciousness. And you can see that it's got 10 circles that are numbered 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Then there is a dotted circle or sphere, an implied circle called the abyss. And then there is a 0 above the tree. So that makes a total of 12 different components or 12 different aspects of the tree of life. And those aspects are basically our aspects of consciousness, or our abilities of consciousness, or our faculties of consciousness. And they basically, evolve as we spiritually evolve, not in the Darwinian sense, again, just progress, or I'm not sure. But as we move up the tree, as our life goes on, we can open up and access all of these different faculties of consciousness. We start here with 10. And so 10 is really like our instinct. This is our wild animal consciousness. This is our survival, the law of the jungle, kill or be killed. This is also our basic life force. This is what keeps us alive. This is what keeps us alive in spite of our not being conscious of it. So, we have a sense of instinct that makes us fight or flight, but it also, keeps our heart beating, and keeps us breathing, keeps us digesting food and eliminating waste. And all those processes, millions and billions of them that we don't know anything about, but our body takes care of it. Now, what we can do is we can hinder our body through things like defilements, lust of the body, and addictions, and that weakens our life force, so that makes it more difficult. So we can negatively affect our life force through our conscious actions. But if we allow our life force to work, then it works positively for us and keeps us alive. Okay, now if the 10th sphere is our wild animal, the 9th sphere is more like our domesticated animal. This is what we get in the home, the domestic sphere, when we're growing up, the first years of our life. So this opens up kind of right away after we're born. I guess particularly after we get taken home, and then we're, being cared for and nurtured by the people around us. And we develop devotion, and we are wide-eyed and just fascinated by everything, because everything is new and different to us. And so we're in a state of heightened receptivity, where everything is, getting our attention and fixing our attention. And then, so we watch particularly what our caregivers are doing, and we learn to imitate. So we try to imitate what they've done, and then we practice it over and over again until we get it right. And then we memorize it. So that's really the process here at the Night Sphere is, some initial devotion, mediumistic trance or what's called heightened receptivity, and then imitation, practice to make perfect, and then memorization. Okay, now the problem at the Night Sphere is basically that the Night Sphere is not discerning, so it will copy abusive behavior as well as laudable behavior. Okay, now if the Night Sphere is like the domestic sphere, the A sphere is the public sphere. So this is really the consensus worldview, and this is where all the establishment is, the institutions, the schools, the churches, the media, the state, the corporations, all of the kind of the experts that are out there that are telling us what to believe and how to act. And so we're exposed to this once we start going to school, once we start going to church, we go to the rec center, we go to the mall, we go to the grocery store. All of these different influences start kind of coming into our life, and we get exposed to the conventional wisdom and the common sense and the consensus worldview, the word on the street. We get influenced by all these different things, and the problem is that sometimes those things are true, sometimes they're not true. Depending on the establishment's mood, more or less. If the establishment wants us to believe something, it doesn't matter whether it's true or not. They're gonna kind of shove it down our throat. And the problem is that really all the resources in the world are here. And so we have to kind of get in here to a certain extent just to be able to kind of have a decent life. And but a lot of what they're telling us is not true. So the eighth sphere really is our faculties of belief systems and our rational faculties, our elementary logical faculties. But a lot of the things that are contained in the eighth sphere kind of force us to reject our own understanding of things. Things that are right in front of our face. And they force us to accept things and endorse things that we don't really believe in. And so what it does is it either kind of forces you to just give lip service to this and just humor it, just to get the resources, or to actually kind of twist our eighth sphere or invert our eighth sphere or pervert our eighth sphere in order to believe that. So we say, oh, well, the emperor they tell me that the emperor is wearing no clothes, but right in front of my face, I see that the emperor is not wearing clothes. And they say it's a beautiful suit of clothes. So I guess I must be going crazy. And I guess something's wrong with my vision because I'm not seeing it correctly. So what you're doing is you're rationalizing their position, and you're also using their consensus. Like you're saying, oh, just because everybody believes it, that means it must be true. And so I have to reject my own thinking, my own experience in order to accept it. I must be the one who's wrong, not everybody else. Okay, so you see that you have to really twist up your eighth sphere in order to embrace much of what's going on here in the public. And so that kind of rationalization or twisted logic ends up kind of becoming contagious, and you are liable to end up getting stuck in the eighth sphere. And that is a common occurrence because a lot of people, the eighth sphere is presented as being really the be-all, end-all, and it's the goal of your life. If you can get into the eighth sphere, be one of the experts, that is a measure of success, and you get paid for it. So a lot of people will end up getting into the A-sphere and thinking that they've arrived, and that's it. But if you look at the tree and you use this as more of a reference point, you can see that the A-sphere is just the third of our faculties, and we still have 9 more, and all 9 of them are more powerful than this one. So if we can just give lip service to the A-sphere and then move along, that's probably the best approach. Just get in the A-sphere, get what you need, and get going. You'll have to come back eventually, to get more. But if you know kind of how to do the lip service, then you can do it. There are certain battles that you might want to fight where you just want to resist the A-sphere outright. And that's fine too, as long as you're prepared to, starve to death and be totally shunned. Okay, now at the 7th sphere, if the A-sphere is really like the real world, the 7th sphere is more like the imaginary world. So this is where you smelled out the A-sphere, you smelled a rat, and you recognize that, there's something wrong. And you come over here and you imagine something better. How could this be made better? How could I improve upon this situation? So that's your imagination. That's one faculty of the 7th sphere. You also have your inspiration, your ability to, follow and to be inspired and motivated by other people who've kind of done the same thing in the past, who you can stand on their shoulders and see a bit further even. And then you have intuition, being able to be curious and go inside, ask yourself, how could I make this better? And you'll get correct answers from your heart. But you have to be able to translate the answers correctly, which you sometimes don't. So you also have to be able to verify your intuitions. You also have your creative spark and your pleasure principle, which both allow you to put things together into new, different, and pleasing arrangements. And then when you add all these things up, you get a creative product, something that is an invention or an art piece or something that proposes alternatives to this A-sphere. But you also get a higher calling. So this higher calling is, as opposed to the cog in the machine approach here at the A-sphere, where they tell you, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer. Here, you're saying, I'm going to be me. I'm going to be the very best version of me that I can put together, using all my strengths and weaknesses, recognizing my situation in the world and how the universe operates, and are beginning to recognize those things. I'm going to plug myself in the way that I can benefit the world in the best way that I can. Okay, so that higher self is also inspirational, and it will help you to propel yourself to get to the next one, the 6th sphere, which is really our center of the tree and really our outer core. And this is, if this were a map, it would say you are here. And the 6th sphere is our free will faculty. This is our ability to pay attention and to make decisions. Now, we find ourselves normally paying attention in this direction, down toward the bottom of the tree. This is our comfort zone. This is what we grew up with. This is what we know. This is what we've been taught. So it's very easy to pay attention to this area. But if we make the decision at free will, with free will, to turn our attention around and to instead pay attention to our higher aspects, which haven't been well developed yet, but are there, we pay attention to them, then we can progress in our spiritual path. And that takes a good deal of courage, because now we're kind of looking into the unknown, which is always a fearful, a scary prospect. But if we can do that, we can apply our attention to the next one, which is the fifth sphere, our next faculty, which is our sense of justice or sense of right and wrong. This is really karma. You can think of it as like a mirror here that's reflecting. So this is cause and effect. And so we are able to, karma is basically going to measure us or reflect our basic violence, waste, and violation. So if we violate somebody, we get violated in return. If we do violence to somebody, we get violence in return. And, you know, we can complain about the results, but if we really are paying attention, then we'll begin to recognize that actually the only reason I'm getting these bad results is because I'm putting bad things out there. If I didn't do that, I wouldn't get this. And so we can gradually learn to kind of clean up our actions and minimize the amount of karma that we're creating through our actions. And so our karma is no longer, is it a punisher, but it actually becomes a protector, because we have a certain amount of immunity. If we don't create the karma, then we don't get any karma fed back to us. Now, there is an exception in terms of past life karma that we have to resolve before we even really kind of get to that point. So at the bottom of the sixth sphere, there are steps called ritual, or not ritual, but discipline, self-sacrifice, in order to kind of clean up our past life karma, so that we can get to the point of spiritual immunity. Okay, now then the fourth sphere is similar. If we can apply our attention to the fourth sphere, then we can learn about really the laws and the order in the universe, where the fifth sphere is about the enforcement of the law. The fourth sphere is about the articulation of that law. And that articulation comes through in the form of cosmologies, great holy books from the past, theories of everything, all of the books and media that purport to describe really everything. You know, from the creation story to an explanation of God and the relationship between humans and God, or the relationship between humans and nature, all of these, you know, understanding of the ethical code, all of these things go into cosmologies. And it's really our duty and responsibility to study cosmology. And most of the time we've been exposed to one in our tradition, whatever religion that we grew up with. But I think it's more important to study many different cosmologies to get a good sampling of what's out there in the world. And then to use your intuition once again and go inside and ask yourself, you know, how do I make sense of all these different cosmologies? Now, intuition at this level is more complicated. And so we need to we have to do the homework first. At this level, we don't need to do the homework. But here we have to do the homework first, because the answers that we're going to get are more detailed. And so we won't be able to translate the answers at all unless we've already gotten to a certain level of understanding. And again, the intuitions are going to be correct, but whether we translate them correctly is another matter, so we have to verify once again. Okay, now when we point our attention here at the abyss has to do with our psychic powers, and that it boils down to psychic receptivity, which is being able to notice, paying attention, and that is to notice omens that occur in our environment. Omens are things that are highly anomalous. They're outliers. They're things that are very unexpected, highly coincidental, synchronicities, recurring themes, recurring names and numbers, that kind of thing. And that should spark our attention and be like, wow, that's really crazy. That's something that I need to pay attention to. And if you do pay attention, then you will see that there is a course of action that's prescribed within the omen. And if you take that course, then that is your psychic heat. So that's the second part of our psychic powers, is the psychic heat. So we have psychic receptivity and psychic heat. The psychic heat requires courage to be able to act upon the omen. And then we have all the higher, the higher level of psychic powers, such as psychokinesis and teleportation and those kinds of things. They're mostly distractions on the path. They're things that you can do here, but they're not on the main line of the path, and they can be very distracting. They can be used, and when used properly, they can be of benefit, but they can be very sidetracking. Okay, then at the top of the tree, we've got 3, 2, and 1. These are our divine faculties within. 3, omnipotence, all-powerful. And we tap into this through sound synchronization, in particular mantra, chanting the letters of the alphabet in specific combinations in order to tap into our potential, which is really laid out here with our higher self, like what we're here for, what we're doing. We're able to use the third sphere to tap into all the other spheres. The third sphere gives us the codes that we need in order to tap into the other spheres and to, eventuate being able to fulfill our higher calling. Okay, the second sphere is omniscience, all-knowing, and this is wisdom. This is our ability to solve our problems. Now, we can solve our problems first. If we can't do it, ourselves, then we use an oracle or a divination system, and we ask of the oracle, we ask the questions and we get answers. Again, the answers are going to be correct, but our ability to translate the answers is another matter, and so we have to be able to verify what we're getting here. Now, if we do it ourselves, we use deep meditation, which is a refined skill that takes a long time to develop. You have to be able to shut your mind off. Where here at the A sphere we solve problems by thinking, but when we do that, we create many unforeseen consequences to our. We might solve the problem, but we create 2 more problems instead, like the head of the hydras. Okay, but at the second sphere, we solve the problem by not thinking, by letting the mind still, and by doing that, we are able to untap all of these improbable solutions. Thinking will give you the probable solutions. Not thinking will give you the improbable solutions, which are going to be lasting and final. And so what happens is we end up clearing the mind out so that we can see to the center. And what we see at our deepest center is actually the solution to our problem. So we still have to apply it, but we are able to get the solution that way. Now, what we see when we calm the mind is the center. And this is our first sphere, omnipresence, all present, all at once, eternally. And this is our higher self, and this is our deepest center. And so here at the second sphere, we're seeing that deepest center, and that's wisdom. But here at the first sphere, we're actually being at the center. We're merging with our higher self, and that leads to unification, because we recognize that the singularity or the higher self that's at our center is exactly the same as the higher self at the center of everything else. And so we really find ourselves at the center of everything else. We're everywhere by getting to the center. And so if the first sphere is like everywhere, the zero sphere is nowhere. The zero sphere is nothingness or emptiness, and the zero sphere is a total mystery. And this arises as a result of it not being in the universe. The first sphere is everything in the universe, and the zero sphere is not in the universe. But the zero sphere is part of the creator. So the creator has an existence that's not in the universe, and that's the zero sphere. Tapping into this is a very powerful thing, but it is indirect, and it is a mysterious. Okay, so those are the 12 aspects of the major aspects of the tree of life. To get to the 144, what we do is we take the whole tree and we shrink it down, and then we apply it to each one of the 12. So we break the 12, each one down into its 12. So the ninth sphere has 12 aspects. The eighth sphere has 12 aspects. And that's a total of 144 different minor aspects, or what I call stages of life, consciousness, history, and spirituality. I've put all those things together into a guide that you can get for free if you want to click the link in the description. Now, today we're looking at number 6 out of the 144 different fractal faculties or mini faculties. And number 6 is in the 10th sphere. So this is in the 10th sphere, and it is the 5th fractal of the 10th sphere. So the 10th sphere is about survival, life force, instinct, our body, naturally keeping itself alive subconsciously or unconsciously. And the 5th sphere is about karma. This is about our sense of justice. This is about being able to cut off our attachments. And so it's all of those things in the 5th sphere in miniature within this body of, instinct, self-preservation. Okay, so the question was, how does our sleep cycle slowly exhaust us? And number 6 is called unsound sleep. Stage number 6 is about how we get worn down by not protecting the sanctity of sleep. Sleep can be resisted, but only to a point. Or is it more like an addiction or luxury? No, not for us. Sleep is a luxury in the jungle that many animals do without, while the king of the jungle sleeps all day if he wants. But sleep is needed for intelligent humans because thinking and memory cannot operate indefinitely. Sleep is the recharging, the rewinding of the thinking and memory. But even if we get sleep, it might not be enough, and it probably won't be sound enough. Sound sleep rarely survives the suburban blight. Between the car alarms and leaf blowers, the chainsaws, weed whackers, and lawnmowers, running full speed while we want quiet time. And it's even louder in the big city, so we don't even try to recover, relax, and unwind. All the noise be stressing out my sleepovers until I become a sleep-ower, putting my adrenals in debt. And adrenal debt peonage wears me down over time. For healthy psychological functioning, all novelty has to be unpacked, processed, digested, and sorted at night during sleep. So if we expose ourselves to a lot of drama, conflict, and stimulus, it takes away from sound, non-REM sleep. Watching TV like Nielsen, everybody's talking at me like Fred and Harry, Neil and Nielsen. Everybody's talking at me, and it carries over into sleep, like everything else I did that day, sorting memories and thoughts of the previous day, mainly, through our dreams. But REM sleep is still partly awake. Asleep and dreaming means only the thinking is still rewinding while the memory is idling. Because supposedly the memory rewinds quicker than the thinking. And, or could we rewind across the veil into past lives? So in dreaming, we are only partially asleep and not satisfied. Non-REM is the sleep sweet spot, the deep sleep that replenishes us. If we keep our body, mind, and spirit clean, 2 hours of deep sleep, of non-REM, is really all we need to recharge. So lay low, eat right, don't make the scene, retire early at night, and over time, you'll find you might just sleep right, rest right, overnight, even knee deep in the thick of suburban blight, or way up at a downtown penthouse height, where the crane across the way is running all night. All right, that is number 6, unsound sleep, and that is the 5th fractal of the 10th sphere, and that is definitely some advice that I need to take myself, make my sleep more sound. So thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. You can click the like button. You can share the video with others. Subscribe to the channel if you would. And you can also click the link in the description to get your free guide to the 144 Fractal Faculties. You can see my Cash App and Venmo in the description, and any donations would be greatly appreciated. You can also make constructive comments in the comment section. Be aware that I'm going to be doing another video on the 144 different fractal faculties tomorrow, so stay tuned. And in the meanwhile, I hope you have a beautiful day.